reviewers, and yeah, so it should have X number of reviewers. It should compile and build all the code. It should run the unit test, and in the ideal condition, the test should cover the 90% of code.
Hmm.
Uh, so this is the build step. After this, uh, we it will deploy it to the test environment, and in the test environment there will be some users and there will be some tests we will run. And if these tests fail, we will roll back and ask the person to fix that and start again. Uh, and if it passes the test, we will, in the production environment, there are two ways. Either we can just after testing environment, we can just push it to production, or we can use the one box way. In this, what happens is we will have some percentage of users who will have early updates. Like the canary users will have like it can be 10% of users who will have updates before the bake period, which is we can select the bake period. So basically, bake period is the time period to ensure that the production that we have added will work correctly with all the users. So you can just also increase its value to 1 week or something.
Hmm.
And yeah, and this in this environment, what will happen is it will count the number of errors and also measure the latency. And if it increases, it will just trigger the alarm and it will roll back to the previous version of production. And once this bake period is done and nothing error happens, so it will just move to the all the users and all the users can have the access of it. So uh, but we can add this to improve this is to add a feature to on and off every step that we have here. So every person should have the option to uh, off it, like to not go forward it until you want it. So this should be there. And if you have a large number of data with multiple regions, so it should you there are two ways to release it to the users. First, you can release it to every region for the testing and production, or you can just like in the region wise you can test it, and also in production you can uh, yeah pass on.
So
How do
there
you?
are, yeah, yeah. So Dr. Go ahead.
You go ahead first, Kshitiz.
So I was just asking, so these environments, right?
Yeah.
Are these the separate branches on the GitHub or what?
No. This test environment, like in the Versal also, there is a different way to set this up, which I'll study more. But uh, yeah, this will have different database and different environment variables, and the
Hmm.
test users will be different, and this will have the production. This will be same as this, but just the users will some
Yeah,
users will get
yeah, I understand
it.
that. But what I have heard of is there are like two main environment, which are staging and prod, right?
Yeah,
Under staging, all the testing happens, and when it passes to the prod. Like the testing guys will push it to the prod, and
yeah.
then it will get released. Okay.
Hmm.
Then it comes to the one more environment where what is called dev environment. Some people use it, where it's only exposed to development guys. Like dev environments is like the playground for all the development related activities. You
Yeah.
can do the mess up and everything before testing it. So, and yeah, that's what I've heard of. I'm not sure what you're talking about is exactly the same what I'm
Yeah,
talking.
this dev
It's
environment
branches.
will come. Yeah,
So,
Yeah, it's different branches, right?
so basically,
yeah,
whether it's staging branch or the production branch or the dev branch, all these branches will still run the same pipeline. Are you getting me? With
Mhm.
different settings. So it's
Yeah.
not like each step is a different branch here. So every
Mhm.
branch will have all these steps running. When this is basically a CI/CD pipeline, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
yeah,
staging or whether it's production or whether it's dev, all in all the branches case scenario, not all of the steps needs to be run, but at least it depends on case to case basis on what branch it is. But those, what I'm trying to say is those are branches, and this is pipeline. Pipeline is a
Okay.
subset of branches. You can assume
So
like
all the branches will have these pipelines,
yeah,
necessarily or not necessarily.
necessarily or not necessarily. Yeah, it's
Not
a pipeline. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Got it, got it.
we don't need the production environment for all the are you talking about GitHub branches or just the other
GitHub
thing?
branches only. Like we have a staging branch and we have a production branch and then we have a dev branch, right?
Yeah,
So
I
this
think
production environment, I'm not sure what that is, but no matter which branch, it should still be deployed, right? Are you getting me?
this
Yeah,
production
correct.
will only I think this production will only uh, for the main branch or the master branch.
Yeah,
This
Yeah,
will not be
production.
deployed with the
Yes.
yeah,
other branch.
yeah. That's why I said, should it also necessarily or not necessarily. That's why
Yeah.
that on-off switch is very important,
Yeah.
which we can configure, for different batches in different ways. And the questions I have is that this chart is okay. I understand the specifics of it and the thing. How do you implement it? Like this on-off switch, are it's not like you can write code in JavaScript, right? So
Yeah,
how would you like maybe in Docker Compose or maybe in GitHub Actions? Are you gonna write each step in a different way and check for on-off, and what is the process for it?
okay. That process I have not studied yet,
Okay.
but in Vercel
There
we
is a
have it.
very good video I encountered way back, which tells exactly what you are talking about, Subhakar. He told the entire process, how to go with it, like on, off, and everything. If I can find it, I will send it, and
Yeah.
yeah, it will be really helpful
Yeah.
for you, Vishwajit, and for everyone.
Yeah. And yeah, this on off we can add to GitHub. Like when to build it, we can just add a setting in GitHub to when start the GitHub action. So there was a permission maybe. So whenever someone approves it, only then it will start it the GitHub action.
Mm.
The first step can be done.
And
So
there is also restriction you can put on a singular branch. Like on the main, you can put
Yeah,
restrict.
protection
yeah,
branch,
Yeah,
protected branches. Yeah.
yeah, you can just allow some set of people to access it, not
Yeah.
others.
yeah. So yeah, this was all about CI/CD, but there is ngrok as well. It is not related to that, but it is a
Oh,
simple
I
thing.
tried it previously. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it is
It's a
very
really
useful.
good tool.
Yeah. So its use case comes very useful, like for the webhooks, like with Slack, when Manish also has used it. So in Slack, whenever there is interaction, like also we got a message here, right? Yeah. So whenever you click on any button, it will send a request, post request. The Slack will send a post request to the endpoint that you have added in its settings in the Slack.
Mm.
So that endpoint cannot be the local thing. So it will not work with the local. So there are many cases in the development when the local thing will not work. So you need a development HTTPS development server URL or something. So you can get that easily, very easily using ngrok. Like uh, yeah, so it is a portable thing. So you just need to download this file and run this, and you can just ngrok HTTP and the port that you want to export, like 3000, and it will give you the URL which will reflect all the requests to this local of yours.
Okay.
So so anything like any get request, like okay, I copy this and
Yeah, it's just like sharing your local to
yeah,
other
yeah.
people.
So if you also want to like share your code, like the progress of your code, you can just share this URL and start it, and it will just
Got it.
uh,
Got
sure. And to set up this is very simple. You just need to download this file
it. Yeah.
and authenticate it using this. You can get your token and yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that was all.
Did you dig into it like NG Rock?
Uh,
Like
There
in
is no
the
much. It is not free. Like the free part was, I think, only this.
so in the
After
left
that,
side there is a lot of things, right? Cloud agents, edges,
okay,
tunnels. Can you
yeah,
click on edges?
yeah,
Edges are
These
the
are the edge servers.
edges. Can you click other things? Not domains. Can you click agents and tunnels? You can also take a dive into ngrok. Maybe we should. Maybe some people
yeah,
are using it creatively to solve some of the issues. You know,
okay,
other issues that cannot be solved.
yeah,
Using GitHub Actions or maybe using other stuff, it cannot be solved. Maybe by using ngrok, it can be solved.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean the HTTPS is good enough for the local host development thing, right?
yeah, yeah.
But
But
I
its
mean,
drawback is we cannot expose more than one. I think it's the free.
You can just create a static domain for it. That will remain static. It will not change.
Okay,
Yeah, there is an option to
domains,
create it.
like in domains, create.
No, no, no. In that screen which you first opened.
Acha,
yes,
Yeah, here only. Yeah, deploy
okay,
static domains. You can just claim it and you can just use it anywhere.
anyway, I have seen people using ngrok, like DevOps engineers using ngrok. They are not using it for the HTTPS or the local host thing. They are using
Yeah,
for a specific case to solve a specific problem that is unsolvable using normal means. Are you getting me? So there must be a real use case besides the HTTPS to HTTP thing. So I'm not sure what that is because I'm not into DevOps much. So anyway, if you can find it. It's good. If you cannot find it,
yeah,
just some creative exploration into the stacks, like ngrok or CI/CD pipelines or stuff like that.
yeah,
Just take a look and treat yourself as a DevOps engineer when you're doing. You know what DevOps is, right? Did I tell you what DevOps is? So, I mean, I know you already know what DevOps is. It's basically CI/CD building,
yeah,
but the way it came from was where it came from. The DevOps came from was when code was quite simple, like back in the days when Linux was just established. So people used to do all these processes manually. Okay, so there were separate operational engineers, okay, who are there just to do this specific manual steps. That means copy the code to the backend Linux server, deploy it, and this is their only job. So what they felt like that was a stupid job. So let's just remove it and let's just automate it and let's come up with a new job who will do this automation called DevOps. So they are developers who automate the ops. Are you getting me? Operations of
yeah,
it.
operations.
So that's where the DevOps came from. So when you treat yourself as a DevOps, it's not about writing code. It's not about creating the whatever front end project or back end project that you are building. It's about how it is being either integrated, tested, or deployed, and how can you automate it. How can you minimize the amount of workforce that a human needs to spend? That is the core of the DevOps. So they try to automate most of it, and even that .env project that we had in mind, right? So
yeah,
that comes as a DevOps project because that is trying to solve a need, which is actually being done by a human being at the current moment. Are you getting
Yeah,
me?
yeah,
So whenever you're trying to replace a human with a machine thing, that's a DevOps thing. Think I'm just saying it just for the mindset change. Like you need to think differently. Like when you do DevOps, you need to think differently when you do front end. Uh,
yeah. Got it.
I guess that is it. CI/CD is good. At least I have a basic understanding of how CI/CD functions now. I had to say, but even though I'm a senior developer, I never worked on CI/CD until now. Someone was there always to take care of these things for me. DevOps engineers who do this thing. This is the first time I'm getting in contact with.
There is one thing I wanted to talk about is have you guys ever used work trees in GitHub?
Work trees in GitHub. No.
Yeah. So it's a really good feature which GitHub has, and very few people use it. So I will show you.
Okay.
Wait,
It's 5:45.
no, it's just 10 minutes. So it's a really cool thing. You guys do the git stash a lot, right? This solves the issue with that. You don't ever need to git stash. I do it very minimal, very few times while I'm starting using this worktree. So what it does is whenever from the main, it will just create the separate main independent to this main. Like this is the um, what I say, most important branch, right? It will copy this branch into the separate folder but disconnected to it. Okay, so suppose I have created one GitHub worktree called feature one. Okay, so feature one will exist independently of this branch, and whenever suppose what normal workflow is, I create a branch using this main, using git checkout or something, right? But that branch is still connected to the main, and if I do any changes in this branch and try to pull it from the main, it will just tell me to git stash it, right? But after creating the work tree, I have a separate folder, and whatever changes I'm making on the separate work tree, it will not reflect anything. Like if I try to suppose I'm working on the feature one, okay, and someone came up to me and tell me that feature two needs to be implemented and it's very urgent, but I have my changes on this branch, right? So I can just create a separate work tree for the feature two and just push the changes immediately for that.
Okay.
Did you guys get it?
Get it. Get it. Nice.
Yeah.
That was nice.
So I don't have to in this feature one folder, I have my previous old changes still intact, but I just delivered my
Even
feature
if you
to
commit it, it will stay in a separate thing, correct? Otherwise, it is useless.
what
Like
commit.
you're working on feature one, and
Yeah.
you have already committed some changes, like this new commit, and
Mm-hmm.
at this point where you haven't yet pushed the changes, and you
Mm-hmm.
still have some other changes as well in the future. At this point,
Yeah.
someone asked you a feature two, which has nothing to do with the feature one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to immediately work on these changes
Yes. Yes.
without stashing the changes, and without also committing the commits.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It will work very independently. It
yeah,
will be like the different Git repository all alone.
so until you create a PR or something similar to that, it will stay into a different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It will stay in the different thing. I have created many work trees. I will show you. So if I go to sense, right? So these are all the work trees. So
Okay.
if I'm working on this, okay, if I'm working on this and I have some changes in this, right? And someone came to me like, Subhaka, you come to me and tell me like this is the very urgent feature which needs to be immediately pushed, right? So I will just go back and check out into this and create a separate work tree of that feature, and it will create a folder on here, right? And that will I can work on that folder and push the changes and delete that folder completely.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, that's the useful scenario of the work.
So this work tree is only there in your local. It is not there in the GitHub,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It's only on my local. Like,
Do you guys have any doubts? Can you
you
also
can
copy
leave.
this link? Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. That is it. If you guys have any doubt in this, I'm happy to answer it.
Acha, Manish, anything from your side?
No,
Yeah. So did you understand the sense thing, like when you were working on sense?
no, not like completely. I
Yeah.
tried to work on that, but I feel it like a bit tricky because I don't know anything about the React Native. So
So the
I
task
asked my
that was assigned was done.
yeah, that was done. That was really very small task, but I'm not able to like do it on do it by myself. I asked Vishwari to help me out in
Okay.
that
Okay.
task. So
So try to read into it, like especially on the front end side.
yeah,
Back end is also important because without back end, you will not understand how Zod or everything else works. So back end is also important, but only to understand level. Front end is where you should concentrate because front end itself is a bit complex because React Native is well React Native.
yeah,
So it will take some time. Just focus on learning on those things, especially the
yeah.
routing stuff and all the other stuff. Okay, I guess
Okay.
with that we